Ball, a big night for Collingwood and for footy in Victoria. The first of the NAB Cup matches here in Victoria for 2010. Good crowd, warm night by the way, 33 degrees just a moment ago. Collingwood's picked a very, very strong team, and the Saints with some newcomers. So a terrific night, two of the powerhouses in the competition, and Michael Moldhouse has joined me. Thanks for this, Mick. And Mick, I've got to ask you the obvious about Luke Ball. It is a big night for him, and I guess for the fans.
Oh, absolutely. He's changed clubs. He's keen to do well, obviously, with Collingwood. Wants to start his career on a winning note. Wants to be... he's always had the... From a young age, always wants to be the best. So he gave some great service to St. Kilda, and they should never forget that. And we hope that we get great service from him, but I'm sure we will.
Mick, what about the ground? It looks patchy.
Well, the AFL have informed us, or the groundsmen have anyway, that it's aesthetically it looks terrible, but it's very safe to play on, and I agree totally in half of that comment.
Okay, and Mick, what about the new coaches tonight? I mean, how nervous are they?
Well, Brownie's been around for a while, but he's a bit toey. The interesting ones are Nathan and Scott Waters. They're like they're playing their first game, so it's fantastic to just take a backward step and have a look at those two blokes. Nathan put the shorts on. I had to remind him that he wasn't playing. He was only out here for 6 minutes, but he said, I need him because I'm sweating so much. And Scott Waters, he's coached 2 premierships in the last 3 years. But it's not, as he said, it's nothing compared to the excitement tonight.
Mick, thanks for that. Up to you, Dennis. All the best.
Good on you, Bruce. The wily veteran there, Michael Moldhouse. Out come the Saints after losing the grand final. Something of a turbulent summer. Just back to playing football. And I think they'll be happy with that. A lot of new faces amongst these Saints tonight as they come on to a rather rough-looking Etihad Stadium. Alongside me, Tom Harley, and to his right, Lee Matthews. And Lee, I think it's fair to say, they will love a game of footy.
Well, they would, but it's certainly not a suited competition. We know that for sure because we've got 2 of the real premiership favourites playing in the first round of the NAB Cup. So there's certainly no easy ride in and a gentle ride into the competitive season. 2 very good teams straight off.
And this is the constant as far as the Saints are concerned. His importance can't be overvalued. 78 goals last season, 10 in 2 games against Collingwood. As we check their lineup, the Saints, a lot of new faces, as I said, Tom.
There certainly are. We've got young Nick Kane playing his first game. A lot of Ross Lyons selected a lot of second-year players, which is a great opportunity for these players. Reece Stanley, Brett Peake obviously coming over from Fremantle, Luke Myers, Stephen Gardner and Alistair Smith.
You touched on Peake. Certainly a much maligned player in his time at Freo.
I guess it's like so many Dockers before him, he fell out of favour. It's the type of trade I think that can be hit or miss, but his importance has really gone through the roof with the recent events and sacking of Andrew Lovett. And I think the Saints will be buoyed by Farron Ray last year.
And Zach Dawson, St Kilda elevated enormously last year, and so did Zach Dawson. Played on the big, strong opposition forward, which allowed Fisher and Gilbert to be the more running, attacking defenders. But sort of second full year, really, it'll be interesting to see how he gets looked at by opposition teams to try and exploit whatever negatives he has. The Collingwood lineup, of course, the new players, Jolly and Ball, 2 really good additions, I would have thought, to the Collingwood side. They should be good, and of course Simon Buckley from Melbourne. But no player in that whole Collingwood squad who hasn't played a senior AFL game. So I think that just proves what a good 30-man squad Collingwood have got together.
This guy kicks goals. Premiership player with Sydney, Darren Jolly, formerly with Melbourne.
Yeah, I think, in my personal opinion, will be the recruit of the year. One of the top 3 ruckmen in the competition with Cox and Sandilands. Now, I guess it begs the question, where to for Josh Fraser and Cameron Wood?
Well, Cameron Wood, it wouldn't have been good news for Cameron Wood when Darren Jolly was recruited because he's probably slipped down a notch. But they're actually the same. When Darren Jolly went to Sydney from Melbourne 5 years ago, he was 23, 40-odd games. That's where Cameron Wood is right at the moment. And those really big ruckmen, it's often almost their mid-20s before they really get the strength to go with their height.
Luke Ball in the spotlight tonight. St Kilda's best and fairest in 2005. It's hard to imagine when he was drafted back in 2001. Tonight would be in his future. A big Friday night coming up. It's the Saints and Collingwood.
footy wasn't great for me last year, form-wise, goal-kicking-wise, anything. Footy wasn't great.
So the toss of a coin.
Big toss. Away we go. Toss it up. Yep. Tails call. Heads it is. No worries. Thanks, guys. Thanks,
So
Patrick.
Nick Revolt wins the toss and kicks to the left of screen on a hot, balmy night as we go down and welcome Tim and Richo to the coverage. Tim.
Thanks, Bruce. Yeah, one of the major talking points in the lead up to this game has been the playing surface itself. Now, I'll show you some vision that we took or captured probably about an hour and a half ago. These are the St Kilda people, the coaches. See Ross Lyon there digging into the turf. The ground has been deemed safe by AFL Football Operations after an examination yesterday by an independent turf consultant. The AFL, though, does concede that the ground is far from aesthetically pleasing. You can see that for yourselves. And the replacement of the affected turf starts after the Geelong North game, which is late on Sunday afternoon. But some real concerns down here about the playing surface. Now, Richo, you've had a good look at the ground. As a forward, would you be concerned about the playing surface tonight?
No doubt, Timmy. As a forward, you'd be very worried leading out, having to change directions down that end of the ground, the Coventry end of the ground. You wouldn't know whether to wear screw-ins or mouldeds either. And no doubt, talking to officials from both teams before the game, they are concerned about the surface. There is no doubt about that.
There are also some dangers lurking below the surface here. A tiger snake was found in the car park here at Etihad Stadium today. It was taken away by a ranger, so that's good news for people parking their cars here tonight.
I think Angus Young left it here after the concert the other night.
Richard, start of the game then. Game 5 in the NAB Cup competition. First touch to ball, a hand pass. Spills wide, taken by Schneider, sends it down towards half forward, pitches in no man's land. Reid, nicely done, controlled it well. Over the head of Shaw though, he tracks it back, pursued by Ray. Good Shepherd, heats short towards half forward. Leon Davis on the chest. Thomas is breaking. Davis thought about going. Jolly is long, kicks it wide of that man. Brown takes the mark. Terrible decision for Blake to make. He was caught betwixt and between and on that loose surface as well. Could have gone to Jolly, decided to go to Brown.
An interesting matchup early. I think we've got Sam Gilbert picking up Leon Davis. Can't afford to give him that much space going forward, and a great hit up from Leon to Lee Brown.
Now the Anvil, not always reliable in this situation. Missed a few last season. Would have been a stellar year had he kicked straight. I think he's got it. He has. Good start by the Magpies.
Yes, it is difficult, isn't it? That's the when an opposition ruckman drifts into the forward 50, and Blake just read, as Dennis called, he didn't really know whether to cover Brown or cover Jolly, who was pushing in into that deep forward target. But it's interesting, Gilbert has taken the Davis matchup, and down the other end, Harry O'Brien's taken the Milne matchup. So very versatile defenders, those two. They can take a lot of different shapes and sizes.
10 goals, 17 last year for Brown. Blakey's opponent, Nathan Buckley. Mickey Malthouse talking that he had the shorts on before the game and was raring to go. This time last year, Tommy, was standing right where you are. Things happen in footy in 12 months, don't they? Schneider out of the centre. So the Saints again get it forward, and Maxwell does very well. He had a NAB Cup to remember last year, didn't he, Maxwell? Certainly made his mark as he kicks the ball wide. That's a good grab. Taken by Swan. Dribbled it along the boundary line. Geary front spot. Thomas over the back. And a boundary throw in. And there's a familiar face too. Former Saint Maxie Hutchton, who had the disappointment of missing out late in the year in the grand final, now doing some work with the Pies.
Boundary throw in. Wellingham lays it off. Now an opportunity for ball. Back to Wellingham. Pendlebury is there, involved earlier. Montagna going along the boundary line, feeds it back. McAvoy a fumble. It goes out of bounds.
I think we saw an example of that new tackle interpretation. Wellingham knew that if he just absorbed the tackle, didn't get rid of it, he'd get pinged. So at the last moment, just flicked it clear.
Jolly wins it down. Armitage into the arms of Ball. He'll get the free kick, the defensive. The wing, loops it over the top. Peake has to wait. Did him no favours. Wellingham knocked it away. Peake goes again. Montagna's over the football. It's not coming out.
We've got St Kilda's Sam Fisher playing pretty much loose in defence. Collingwood are going to have to keep an eye on that going forward, and also offensively for St Kilda going the other way.
So Pendlebury. Well done by Armitage, forcing forward. Peake, he's gone.
Took the tackle on. Right on the mark, thank you.
Caught by O'Brien. Gee, what a fine year he had. Squares it up, a little bit of danger, but Nathan Brown, he also missed out late. He had a thigh injury sort of 2/3 of the way through. Reed leans back, lovely kick to Shaw. So Collingwood attack through this flank again. Shaw, a little one to Lockyer. And then Lockyer decides just to load it up to centre half forward. Goddard comes across, Brown does very well. Gets it from Jolly, left foot by Davis. Bouncing ball. That'll be a boundary throw in. Right forward pocket.
Already Darren Jolly showing the experience and the added bonus, I guess, pushing forward from the ruck contest provides a genuine viable option going forward for Collingwood.
Big season for Leon Davis. Boundary throw in, trying to flick it down behind was Jolly. Falling to the ground, Schneider. Gilbert a fumble. Side bottom goes after it, feeds the hand pass back. Maxwell right on the 50. Not his best effort, down towards full forward. The mark is taken in front by Geary. Plays on quickly, lobs it over the top. Goddard. Now they run it up as the kick comes from Miles. Mark is taken by Ball. Collingwood coming back. Johnson. Swan. O'Brien. Confronted. Back to Swan. Right half forward. McCaffer. 60 metres out. Sends it long down towards full forward. They compete about 20 metres out. Brown was the man in front. Spills wide. Fisher was in trouble. Gilbert got a hand pass. And now Ray comes away.
Had a bit of a tease. Got it to Peake. And then Peake's long ball to centre wing. Stevie Milne takes onside bottom and then lovely kick across the ground to Big Cozzy. That brain of Milne's is working, fast tracking. Revolt, nearly got up high. Goddard threw it away.
No advantage.
So back to McCaffer.
Time off.
And O'Brien will be on the end of it. Swan to Lockyer. Didac trying to work for Lockyer. Lockyer, gee, that's a lovely kick. Perfectly weighted.
Pendlebury lays it off. Didac just through the interchange gates towards half forward. Medhurst back to Didac. Didac's hand pass to a couple of Magpies. Side bottom. Gathers the bouncing ball. Goes inside the forward 50. Dawson reaches over the top. Got a fist to it. Crumbed by Geary. Montagna. He pushes up towards right half back. Hesitates. Creating some space. Revolt takes the mark. Nick Revolt coming off, I think it was 6 goals in the club intra-club game. Montagna towards half forward. Milne stretches. Now going back hard is Peake. Johnson did well to stay with him. Milne no long targets. Collingwood dropping men back. Montagna can't kick over them. Goes in short. Well, you don't have to kick over them. McWalter got it. That was lax marking by Collingwood. They had about 3 spare men.
It's a critical kick, isn't it, though, Tom? That one to find the target when there's a lot of opposition jumpers.
I was going to say both teams are very well set up defensively, and the shorter target going inside 50 is the one that both sides are going to have to look forward.
So McWalter, handy player last season, made his mark. Lovely kick, puts a throw.
Did reinvent himself, 22 goals last year. Mickey Malthouse not coaching as such tonight. Gee, some tats on the bench there.
There's plenty there. It's the modern way, Bruce.
Not up here in the broadcast box, is it, Dennis?
Haven't ruled it out, Bruce.
Let me know and I'll go with you.
Looks like it'd hurt.
So King worked under it by Jolly and then toe poke forward. McCarthy happy to concede back to Shaw. Sets up. That's a good-looking kick. Brown a target. They've got a different forward line tonight, Collingwood. And then Geary's hot handball for King, who did pretty well, I reckon, to Ray and Blake, who had to stretch a bit. Blake, one of just two St Kilda players who played every game last year, and that's because of what happened in Tassie against Hawthorn when they rested a lot. Kosicki loads up, trying to get into a one-on-one. Stanley has just come on, little give okay to Smith, another one of their newcomers, and I think that might be Hine underneath. So the Saints just outside the 50. McWalter and Brown the goal scorers. Maxwell gets it clear.
Towards the boundary line. Ray can't keep it in, so boundary throw in on the other side.
Tom mentioned earlier about Sam Fisher was often floating off on his own for St Kilda. Of course, he's sure will do that for Collingwood down the other end, and I think both sides would be happy enough to sort of take that spare man. They're both pretty elite at being able to operate back there.
Don't forget, tonight the boundary umpires can pay free kicks for holding around the congestion. And there was a boundary umpire looking. The guy throwing it in wasn't the man who was doing the looking. It was one about 25 metres to the left of that pack. Now a free kick is going to the Saints and will be taken by Alistair Smith. He's a left footer. Little centering kick, took something off the footy. Wellingham did well. Plays on. Nicely weighted kick to Cloak, goes up, takes the mark. So Travis Cloak in the defensive 50 will go back to Reid. Pendlebury's on the outer side. He'll get it now. Pendlebury. Lockyer is breaking. Well, he won't get it because the kick went over his head.
It was interesting. Travis Cloak pushing right up the halfback. That's got some interesting things to say about his career now at half time. But he actually, the question of where he's getting his ball, he's pushing a long way up. Doesn't seem to get a lot of ball in the forward 50 this last 12 months.
So Wood and King. Wood won the tap. King actually did the roving and then Wellingham over the back. And then Wood's got to get down low. And then he's well tackled by Stephen. Dean to get the handball away. McCaffrey, terrific kick to Thomas. Opens it up. Medhurst is on. Good play. One turnover. Bang. Ball heavily involved. It's Ball, well done. So Ball setting that up. Said McCaffrey, Ball shouldn't have got him wrong. To Thomas, and then a great kick.
The terrific thing about that movement of football, I think...
Turn the ball over.
I was going to say that the Collingwood side did bring the ball into the centre of the corridor and got the ball going forward to Medhurst. That should be a key to go forward, I think, for the Pies.
So Miles to Gilbert, and then Gilbert forced to kick in a hurry and got the wrong angle. And Maxwell, who's on the captain for the moment, the other captain, to bring it back in.
Wellingham across the ground. Brown gets down to find it. Low-scoring affair to start here. O'Brien can go over the top. Does to Davis. Swan is running hard. He wants it out in front. He'll get it there. So Swan down towards right half forward. Goes back inside, side bottom. Swan. It was smothered. Well done by Armitage. Side bottom though. Gets the crumb. Flicks it across to O'Brien. In front, Cloak.
So much congestion in the middle of the ground. Both sides seem to be working the wings and the flanks. Good to see Travis Cloak get the ball within scoring distance. I think the coach will be happy with that.
Important for his confidence is this first kick at goal for the new season. You know, he's got the distance. He's got the length. It's great for his confidence if he can just nail his first shot.
Looks like a baseball diamond. Cloak. Oh. He tugs it way right and through it goes. I think this morning's paper said after 3 AC/DC concerts the ground would look like Death Valley tonight. Well, certainly at one end it doesn't look good, but I'm suggesting highway to hell.
It's patchy, right? We were down there before the match, and it's probably worse when you're down there. Didak to Medhurst. Just overplayed it a touch, O'Brien. And then Thomas. Well done, Milne. So Collingwood had a chance here. Now Gwilt held it up for a moment. Armitage and Jones. Back they come. Geary. She played that well. You heard the umpy say play on. Here's Smith with that left foot. Good kick too. And finds Hine, another one of the newcomers. And that's neat. Well done to Revolt. So a couple of the new boys getting involved there down the wing.
Young Hine looks pretty handy early. Very patient ball use from St Kilda. Nick Riewoldt and his fellow forwards have moved right up into the middle of the ground, had to really work hard back to orchestrate this forward foray.
Had a couple of big matches against Collingwood last year. He kicked 5 in the final and 5 on the Monday night. And that's a beautiful kick.
I'm going to sign that. Nick Riewoldt from long range, tight angle, steering it through. Summer's night virtually here in Melbourne. McAvoy hooks it down behind and was taken across the head. Free kick taken by Armitage. Armitage gave the hand pass across to Gwilt. Now it's with McWalter from McAvoy, and that's a beautiful pass. Under the chest of you-know-who.
Running with a few different forward setups, the Saints. Riewoldt's been pushing up the ground, but on this occasion came out of the square.
It's a tough matchup, isn't he?
No, it is in that situation.
Sort of just becomes the endurance athlete at half forward and just the speed off the mark at full forward.
Riewoldt. Oh, that's how you draw it up, both of them.
Lee mentioned earlier about McWalter's ability to find space in the forward line, but what he did also last year, he was their best player at actually finding a player inside their attacking 52. So he's got that capacity not just to lower his eyes and hit and find the right target, but actually to hit the right target as well.
Gee, Swan's handball was a beauty to Wood to full forward. So against Jolly for a push on Dawson. Geez, there's a lot of stories in footy each year, but Dawson was one of them last year, wasn't he?
He certainly was. He really turned around a career with St Kilda and played a pretty pivotal part in the year last year.
But for that toe poke of Matthew Scarlett.
No comment.
Swan, and that was courageous by Smith, who's impressed early. 3 or 4 disposals, and they've been pretty good ones. Down low by Schneider. Goddard runs it to Milne, to Goddard, and he's away with a running bounce. And this will stretch the hammies early. Armitage is gone.
Advantage.
Well, the advantage given, so Swan running him down, and then Pendlebury to Shaw and Collingwood.
Players able to take the advantage. It's their call. Here's Stephen. Puts a little hand pass away. Gwilt into Mines. Loops a hand pass over the top. Schneider to midfield. Beautiful kick. Riewoldt is one out. Big man is trying to get back on him. Riewoldt's leader's pass though. Long kick from Milne. Leading back in the race down there is Stanley. Did he get boot to ball? No. He's no slouch when he runs, Stanley. He won the 100 metres at the Grand Final last year. And he's 200 centimetres.
Sure. Terrific season after the slow start last year. Now Milne, gee, he has been busy, Stevie. Handball to Schneider, almost within range. Low, long, strong, and most of all, straight.
So a super goal to Schneider. 28 plays 7. Only Dane Swan has had more possession so far than Adam Schneider. Schneider with 6, Swan with 7. Tuvey in trouble, ball back to Tuvey. Armitage got him. Montagna, Goddard, Gwilt in trouble. Johnson on his knees. Ball went to ground as he pushed in the back. I think he'll get the free kick advantage. Is played. Johnston goes away, kicks it out towards the wing. McCarthy went to ground in the back. Now they didn't take advantage. And the umpire decides that you have to go back and kick it once you hesitate. Dynak around the outer side. Cloak. Dynak's kick, though, is over the boundary line, and the margin is out to 21 points very quickly. Watch Schneider again. Well, he kicked it all of 52. It was just low as it crossed the line.
So Fisher. Back to Ray. He with Blake with the 2 that played all 25 last year. Now Gilbert. So many St Kilda players had breakout career best seasons. And Gilbert had showed a lot of promise, and He had a bit of... Montagna was sloppy there, which is unusual for him. Put the pressure on Miles. Jones got a bad bounce. Johnson had it ripped away. Willingham gets in the back there of Hine and then rips it off. Hine did well. Pendlebury, handball wide, good. Cloak has to hurry the kick. Bangs it forward. Good result. Medhurst on the end of this one.
So that was just a lucky fall of the ball, really, because Medhurst is just a quick kick forward. Medhurst in the middle of about 6 St Kilda defenders here, but it just virtually drops on his chest. And just at the moment, Collingwood need a little bit of luck going forward, because certainly they can't really break the St Kilda defensive structure.
All-Australian a couple of years ago, struggled last year, had a poor pre-season, then the ankle injury, dropped for the final and kicks the goal.
So the margin is 15 points. Richo is prowling the boundary.
Yeah, with Anthony Rocker out of the Collingwood side this year, it looks like they're going to be relying on Jolly and Wood to push forward and kick goals. They haven't kicked any as yet, but they have been pushing forward quite a lot.
28 plays 13. King has to wait, knocks it back in the wrong direction. Finds it though on the deck. Smothered off the boot of Smith. King goes again, spills wide of the pack. Hand pass comes from McWalter. Smith runs on, kicks inside the forward 50. Ball runs free towards the pocket. Tuvey will be back first. Needs a shepherd. Slips it away to O'Brien. Well done, O'Brien. Fancy footwork. Maxwell. Good pressure from the Saints. In goes Stevie Milne on his knees. Keeping the ball in the field of play was Smith. Feeds it back towards Goddard. The pressure from Collingwood. The other way. Over the football is Reid. Or is it McCaffer? It's McCaffer. And that ball won't come out. We'll have a ball up.
Interestingly enough, St Kilda are really getting the ball out of the centre square, I was going to say, and this will be their first clearance from a general play stoppage.
So King short, good kick. Ray on the end of it, decides to switch to Fisher, and then Fisher with a neat looking kick wide, wants McAvoy and gets him, and he cleans up Cozzy. Now, normally Cozzy's the bloke cleaning his teammates up, isn't he?
That is a strong grab, isn't he? I mean, he really just had a lot of body pressure on his jump at the footy.
Free kick was there.
Still level, mate.
It's good hands, isn't it, by McAvoy?
Ross Lyon to be wrapped with that.
He's a likely type, McAvoy. He's played a dozen games over 2 seasons. Has never played in a losing home and away game for the Saints. He's 12-0, and he's a good shot for goal as well.
He actually, with King, Gardner, McAvoy, has to sort of basically bide his time a little until he gets big enough and strong enough. But he's one bloke who looks bigger than he did last season. So the summer weights program has had a good effect on him.
No doubt, and it's hard to... Leopards don't change their spots very often. Justin Kosicki, as brave as they come, I'm not quite sure whether it's necessarily the right thing to do. But a great mark from Ben McAvoy, really promising signs.
He was taken number 9 in the 07 draft, McAvoy, so he's, they've taken their time with him. He's
highly rated.
Here we go.
34 plays 13. Lee Tudor doing the work tonight for the Saints. Both head coaches taking a night off, sort of. We saw Mick with the headset on earlier. Goddard. Smith, who's been lively, is again under that pack. Ball trickles out the back. McWalter, the hurried kick down towards the 50. Kosicki in a battle there with Reid. Kosicki might get a free kick. Well, they're getting so much ball out of the middle. Schneider, this is not for 9. He stepped inside the 50, but he gets it just the same. Schneider's second goal.
I bet he wishes he was that accurate on grand final day. I know I'm going back over old territory in a different match, but he could have been a match winner in the grand final and he just couldn't find the goals.
Well, they're taking their chances early. 7 shots at goal for 6 goals won, so there's certainly their conversion accuracy has been exceptionally good.
Always renowned St Kilda when we played against them for their surge mentality. They've been surging the ball forward, and Schneider's often one of the players who really benefit from that style of football.
Kicked 34 goals last year, Schneider.
So handy player.
He's Premiership player at Sydney. He's been a good pickup. So they've raced away here, the Saints. Nathan Buckley in the middle there. Gavin Brown, who's behind him doing the work tonight. He's acting as the senior man. I think it's Bucks' turn next week. The loser of this match to go to Alice Springs to play the Crows, and the winner to play either Carlton or Sydney in the second round of the NAB Cup. So here's Shaw.
Very seemed to win that one.
Whoa! Big flight the back from Cloak, and then Jones, and the boundary throw in.
Lee touched on it before. St Kilda are just so well drilled at getting numbers to the fall of the ball and the contest in general. A very well structured defensive team, and what they took, made some great steps in 2009. It seems the trend's going to be that way again in 2010.
Wood knocks it down, stolen by Peake. Armitage slung to the ground. Again, the ball released. Peake grabs it, hurriedly onto the boot, kicks it up towards the wing. Kazitsky fires one at Milne, taken by Tuvey. We're down to 15 seconds. Shaw goes across the ground, side bottom, needs a long kick, doesn't know about the clock, doesn't matter. So McCarthy's got it right on the 50. He wants to lay it off, but he's better advised now to go back and take a kick. Woo! Thought about giving it to Harry.
9 points.
This is a 9-pointer.
Everyone stay clear, please. Nick Maxwell.
What do they say? Every child's dream after the siren. Well, I suppose they don't think 9-pointers. Would you dream that? Perhaps not. Oh. Not so good. Hangs it out to the left-hand side. Collingwood in trouble at quarter time. The Saints lead by a big margin. 40 plays 14. This is Friday Night Football.
Gee, that's been busy, Stevie. Handball to Schneider, almost within range. Low, long, strong, and most of all, straight. Those 9-pointers can really break a game open, can't they, in the NAB Cup? And Schneider kicked another 6-point goal. So they're away, the Saints. They lead 40-14 at quarter time, 26-point margin. Brown getting the opening goal of the match in the first minute and a half for Collingwood. On this hot night as we go down to Richo and Tim.
Well, St Kilda are one of the best transition sides in the competition. There's no question about that. That's why they've been one of the leaders in the AFL. I just want to show some vision from the first quarter. And what we're talking about here is moving from attack. Here they're going forward. The run down there. Terrific play by Collingwood. They win the ball. They look like they're in the attack now. You'd expect most of the St Kilda players to be offside. They're not. They've reset themselves. Here they are. They win the ball back again. Play down one side. Look to them to switch here to the other side of the ground, and already the forwards further up the ground are starting to find space. Here's Schneider across to Milne. Not a Collingwood player within sight there. He's got plenty of space to operate in, and that is what transition's all about, from going from attack to defence, back to attack. Richo, very busy down here on the interchange. It's a warm night. What have you noticed?
Yeah, it's a hot night, Timmy. 32 degrees down here. Collingwood have had 36 interchanges already. With that, you would think that Alan Didak would be able to get away from a tag. Unfortunately for him, Clint Jones is going to follow him everywhere tonight.
And Didak just, the forward disposal was one of them out of bounds on the full. Jones did so many jobs last year, didn't he?
You do your mathematics on that. 4 times 36 is about 144. I mean, interchange is going through the roof on that ratio.
No wonder Ross and Mick have given up the reins tonight.
Last year averages were between 80 to 100 a game, so they're certainly using it heavily, Collingwood.
Do you remember a couple of years ago, I think 64 was the maximum in the NAB Cup, wasn't it?
Yep. Just gone through the roof in 5 or 6 years.
Richo was saying he took a bit of stick on the boundary in Perth last week. He's down there with a former St Kilda coach tonight, so he must be relaxed. Just the two of them down there watching this game. It's been very interesting, and St Kilda very impressive so far. 40-14, 26 points. Saints way.
Just saw a little bit of banter between Riewoldt and Brown, and Riewoldt just saying, "Look, who's the big boss in the forward line here?"
Second term, Collingwood with a bit to do. Jolly opposed to McAvoy. Jolly came over the top. Peake in the opposite direction, does nicely, lays it off, although straight to Armitage, who found himself in space, so it worked out okay. I thought for a moment he was going to be nabbed, but the kick was marked by Maxwell, who plays on, beats a man, little fumble, runs to centre, kicks inside the forward 50. A lot of body work, and eventually Cloak prevails.
We saw down the other end of the ground that Nick Maxwell continuing his trend from last year, playing on the young fella Nick Hayne, outpointing him early and starting the forward surge for the Pies.
Mark's right here.
So Cloak, his first set shot tonight was a shocker. He really tugged it way right.
Right there, thanks.
A kick from right on the 50. And again, he's hooked it. Minor score. The first score of the second term.
Just didn't kick the ball confidently. He just is steered a little bit. I mean, he's got a good long kick. He has to try and be kicking the ball into the back of the stand a little bit. He's pulled both of his kicks to the right, just hooked them a bit.
He's had the same number of shots as Revolt at the other end. He's converted both of his. So Gwilt wide.
We saw Collingwood just employ the man-on-man.
So here's the Cloak kicking. Actually, certainly can cover some ground, can't he? It's a lovely long kick. And we talked to him about his kicking at half-time on the big Friday night game.
High, got him high, Collingwood free. Got him high. Right there, Beck. Right there. Right there,
So McCaffer with the free kick, leans back, kicks to Cloak. He was worked underneath. And Collingwood mark to Davis.
Play on, play on.
Well, if he was on the run here or kicking around the corner, you'd just about write it down, wouldn't you? Spectacular season last year. Had probably a bit of a disappointing finals run in, but all Australian. All his numbers were big. Here he is. He does improve the angle. Can he get enough on it? No. It's a poor attempt for him. And in fact, just tapped through by McAvoy. So Collingwood inaccurate here in the early stages of the second term. They crawl up to 16.
Interesting you talk about Leon, a total of just 25 possessions and 1 goal in 3 finals last year. And as Bruce is saying, a lot better than that, but he's got to prove it again. Those big games come back to haunt players. Speaking of big game players, talking to Brad Sewell at halftime, one of our favourites. Gilbert tries to get through. Chopped off though by Tuvey across to Brown. 40 metres out, Lee Brown. But he's got it. That's his second.
Well, we're down to an 18-point margin. Collingwood have started this second quarter really well. But let's have a little bit of a big picture look at some of the key stats as we go into the second quarter. The inside 50s there, 14 apiece, so they've evened up. Clearances have evened up. St Kilda have mostly got their clearances out of the centre bounces. Collingwood's tackling pressure has been very good. I think the story of the game just simply St Kilda's conversion of opportunities around 50's been better. Snyder's kicked a couple of long goals. But I think the game in general is very evenly balanced, even though that scoreboard deficit is 18 points.
A couple of super goals, the difference, isn't it? Depends on which way you look at it in the NAB Cup. Actually, Brown's been interesting. As Dennis said earlier, he kicked badly last year. I think 10 goals, 17, but he's a couple to 9. He played 23 games last year. He's been a pretty handy utility. A surprise pick-up at the time after a long time with North Melbourne. And then after Freo, here's Swan. He's had a couple of magnificent years. Now Shaw sweeps the handball, side bottom, has to get down low and then try and keep his feet. And then O'Brien.
Held him afterwards, advantage.
So you heard the umpy. So Shaw with it now. He's going to come to Wellingham out wide on the wing closest to our broadcast. And Wellington, good kick. Well, gee, Jolly should have marked that. He's a disappointing start here. A couple of free kicks against him. Wellingham back. And now Shaw. And that's a good mark taken by Pendlebury. Lockyer, very low. Johnson, back to Lockyer. Handball inside. McCaffer. Good tackle. And then Montagna just sort of belts it and hacks it forward. Hine did well. Gilbert did well. Goddard
loops it over the top. A little bit of a fumble from Stephen. That was enough to let Maxwell back into the contest. Jarred loose. Wellingham goes wide. Didak has got it. Overcommitting was Jones. Didak's away, then kicks inside the forward 50. Lee on a half chance. He hesitated slightly. Gathered by Brown. Feigns a hand pass, still going. Hooks it down towards full forward. Davis in from the side. Crashes the pack. Ball spills back to the square. McAvoy. Now Gilbert. Waved on by a teammate there in Miles. That's a good kick. That's a beauty coming out. Whoops, Geary. Got it from Jones. Over the top. Little one came back from Peak. Run down, Geary. Advantage. Well.
Push him in the back.
Oh.
You fell straight in his back. On the side.
So the Saints get the footy. Pressure both ways there. He was a bit lucky.
Cloak doing some hard work there.
Holding you pretty well, free kick. Go watch the ball, Nathan.
So against Brown, just wrap the arm around Revolt. And the ruse off and then belts it long. High and a bit of a target. Good mark, Willingham. Back to side bottom. Oh, the handball by Ball, putting pressure. Montagna, can he get it? I think he has. Yep, he's got it.
There's a man who knows an old teammate, Lee Montagna. In the words of Billy Connolly, look what he did. He just slipped across in front there and took the footy. He knew what was happening before it happened. The ball has generally been pretty good tonight. Out of the middle, Armitage. Hooks it down towards half forward. Going back, O'Brien. Hands to it. Didn't complete the mark. Sliding in there is Stanley. Maxwell belatedly appealing for a free kick. Let's go down to Tim Watson on the boundary.
Well, Nicky, just having a breather for the first time in the second quarter. How have you found that end of the playing surface?
It's only been a few minutes, but we did a pretty thorough warm-up up there in the early part before the game, and it seemed to hold us ground all right. It's not great to look at, obviously. At home watching the soccer last night, and I wondered what they were going to do, but that's not too bad underfoot. Their game's actually really soft at the moment, which is good.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Tim, with Nick there. So an inside look at the state of the ground from the champ, Wellingham.
Is he suggesting they leave it like this?
So Luke Ball, and that Collingwood Guernsey kicks to centre wing, and Fisher takes the mark. Plays that loose defender so cleverly to Stephen, to Ray. Jack Stephen had a big fitness test at quarter time. Here's Peak. So he's the bloke that's played footy that comes into the Saints tonight. Montagna leant back, set Milne a bit of a task. He did pretty well, Milne, so did Brown. Now Thomas going to take Hine on. Ambitious handball, Tuvey. And then Tuvey's second effort was terrific. Will he go off the ground? No. Works it in front. Did well, Tuvey, in the end.
Collingwood are really going to have to run and carry the ball through the St Kilda defence. They're just so structured, giving Collingwood no space to move through the middle of the ground, hence moving around the boundary line.
46-22 boundary throw in at the interchange gates. Wood did best. Buckley tried to force it through the pack in the opposite direction was King. Close to the boundary. Cloak. Little room to manoeuvre, takes it out.
And I think that's summer theme of all clubs. St Kilda was so good at locking everyone down last year, was how do we beat this push-up zoning situation, and I think running it through by hands is what everyone's trying and do, but there's going to be the odd turnover that's going to be costly as well.
Well done by King there, just blocked the run of Wood, decisively won it down. Tripping over is Smith, knocked away by Swan, out of bounds.
It's interesting when you're giving the ball to a teammate. How far clear does he have to be to give it to him by hand?
I think it's almost becoming less
it's
and
about
less.
A foot?
It is these days. A lot of sides just flick the ball around.
Saw David Armitage getting up rather gingerly. King in trouble. And that ball slow to release.
Thanks, Andrew.
Let's see what happened. Well, it was just one of those things in the solar plexus at the wrong time.
Shaw, little hacking kick to Lockyer. Good hands. Cloak had to wait. Did very well, Cloak. Fisher, Lockyer, Lux a fortune. And Lockyer's kick's a good one to Medhurst. Normally creative, and he does that. If it sits, McCaff has a real chance. He just overran him a bit. He takes Smith on. Stephen, well done. Came from the clouds and brought him down. Gilbert to Ray to Stephen. Well done again by Stephen. Terrific play by the Saints, and now O'Brien to load it up and go wide to Davis. And Leon, will he be creative? Goes very short. It was a tough one for Ball. He tried to poke it forward. And then Smith has been impressive Fisher gets hold of it from Ray. Revolt stood his ground, wins the free kick.
It was clever by Revolt, just popping short of the footy. Harry cannoning into his back. McWalter, Peak, into the path of Revolt. Hand passes down towards half forward. Schneider, who's been busy, slaps it wide. Peak looking a little tired. He's done a lot of running. Wellingham tried to wrench it away in the opposite direction. Schneider emerges with a footy, runs the boundary, kicks inside the 50, bounces off the chest of Kazetsky down there. Collingwood with the numbers. Maxwell, Shaw, Swan just pops it over the top, and the mark is taken by O'Brien.
It's been good, Harry.
Move it on! Play on! Play on!
So no one from St Kilda going to him, so retreats back to Shaw, and now Cloak's worked up the ground, but he's very wide. Shaw will go to him. Had nothing forward, he sort of had to go laterally there. Now Shaw's going to work from Cloak. Cloak and Shaw, they're a couple of famous footy names, aren't they?
Fantastic team defence by St Kilda this last 30 seconds. Collingwood have just hemmed in the back third. St Kilda were just blocking it upfield.
Here's Buckley, ex-Demon, good kick. Now they've opened up, they can get to the fat side now. Here's Swan.
Moves away, runs outside the defensive 50, finds a man in Wellingham. Coming across the ground is Pendlebury. No one going with him. Pendlebury outside the 50, just lays it to space, and that's a good mark. It was a clever kick. It needed probably another couple of metres on it, but McCarthy threw himself at the footy and is marked about 40 metres out.
As Lee touched on before, the Saints are just so adept at clogging up through the midfield with their zone, and had to be really patient and bring the ball forward.
Pendlebury for 6. Heard the umpire. Off target. Jolly goes back off his hands and against the post.
Takes some hard runners, and Pendlebury, who actually has ended up being released in the midfield, ran from one boundary line, pretty much the 80-metre surge to get that bit of space.
Here he is again. Davis in hard. Dawson searching for it. Ray was the one that got it to Gwilt. And Gwilt's going to find the line. Lockyer couldn't quite bring it back in. So sort of a holding pattern a bit, isn't it? 46-22. Saints sitting on a 3 or 4 goal lead here. Collingwood having chances. Quick kick forward by side bottom. Gilbert. Geary has to wait. Lockyer cuts it off.
And the scoreboard's the only thing that determines the game, and we know St Kilda got a 4-goal lead, but it's 8 scoring shots to 7. That's about the general play part of it. But St Kilda are taking their chances much better than Collingwood.
So boundary throw in. Jolly slips it down. Falling to the ground ball. Lockyer, Pendlebury. Back to ball. He's having a good night. Downwards full forward. Missed in front down there by Gilbert. Over the top was Thomas. That ball just fell to the ground. Umpire lets them play. Still play. Eventually it's tunnelled out to Montagna, to Ray. Now McWalter runs out of the back pocket, goes in short, and the mark is taken by Hine. That ball probably has a fair bit of sweat on it too. A bit slippery, missed by Goddard, taken by Gwilt. Runs it up towards midfield. Blake, ever reliable, goes out wide. Jones, McAvoy, Ray had it moments ago in the back pocket, and that's a beautiful finish. So he ran virtually from fullback beyond the wing and still had the poise to hit a man on the lead.
A much better build-up by St Kilda on this occasion. Collingwood employing a similar sort of defensive zone. Took a player, Farron Ray, to tuck the ball under his arm and hit up Nick Rewell on the forward line.
So he's got a couple tonight. He's been very much on song with his kicking. He's been practicing over the summer. That's sneaky.
Well, the running then by Nick Revolt was just phenomenal, wasn't it, Richo? We were watching him closely at boundary level. It looked like 2 players were on him, Shaw and also Maxwell, but he just made space.
Well, neither of those 2 players covered him. Nick started that run on the wing, ran to the goal square, and they ran with him, but they just didn't watch him, and he just had the superior movement and turned back at the ball, and it was an easy goal in the end, but just his work rate got him that.
And he's converting so well tonight. 3 for 3. Here's O'Brien. Didak. Johnson. That's a lovely raking kick. Swan goes back to Johnson. Just coming off interchange. Stanley puts some pressure on. And Blake underneath. So Montaigne around the back.
Runner in the way. St.Kilda free. St.Kilda runner in the way. Collingwood free kick. St.Kilda runner in the way. Right there. Right to him.
It's not one you'd be happy with, Lee, I don't think, the runner.
Well, it was in the vicinity. It was in the way.
So against the Saints runner. So Buckley it was. To Reid. To Shaw with a little toe poke to Tuvey. And then Tuvey wide. To side bottom. To Thomas. So the Saints won't be disappointed with this. It's a slowish build up for Collingwood, having to be careful with their kicks. And then Dawson belts it over the line. So here's the runner.
Gee.
Fair way off.
It's like that play at second base, isn't it? He was in the vicinity. There's Maxwell. Shaw, little U-turn. Gets some traction. Just pops it over the top. Back to his skipper. Maxwell from right half back. Feeds a hand pass forward. This is Buckley, former Melbourne player. Able to get a lot of the ball. Chipped down towards half forward. Medhurst in front. Had it knocked away by Miles. Miles has been very tidy back there. Now a chance for Peake. McCaffer did well. Pendlebury. Ball. Man closing. Gets away from Stephen. Nice finish too. Just missed by Swan. Runs free at the back of the pack. Dawson. McAvoy. Under pressure. Gwilt. Towards the boundary line. On the angle, it's taken across by side bottom.
There seems significant noise when Luke Ball's in the play. Is it the St Kilda people booing or the Collingwood people cheering? I think if he was St Kilda's favourite son, it's probably gone by now.
Probably both.
Bit of a combination. Decent crowd too. It's really built up since the start of the match.
Late arriving, wasn't it?
Yep. So side bottom, and he has done well, Ball. One area he'd like to take back, but other than that, he's been very good. Goddard chipped it off, and then Miles, as Dennis said a moment ago, he's done pretty well, Miles, in a defensive role. Wants Ray.
I shouldn't admit to this, but I used to coach Miles' dad, actually, Barry. I'm sure Barry and Leslie are watching in tonight. Son from Swan Districts.
Where did he play?
Halfback, running halfback.
Good similar.
Farron Ray putting the ball above the head. I think one of the perfect things about the NAB Cup is you get to work on your premeditated structures, and St Kilda have clearly got one here at the moment.
On the wing, McAvoy, been impressive to Armitage. That's a clever kick. Milne's got it. Leading back is Stanley. Milne ignores all of that movement and goes for home, and that's out of bounds on the full. Well, that really was the third of two options, and it will be a Collingwood free. O'Brien will take it. His eyes lit up then, Stephen Milne, as he darted off towards the Coventry end. But a bit of Collingwood karma as O'Brien goes to the pocket. Worked out of there by Reid. Taken by Shaw. Just a little chip along the boundary. Tuvey. Reliable player, Tuvey. The numbers, well, they favoured the Saints. The ball finished up with Davis. Good mark by McCaffer. Medhurst was coming up. McCaffer wasting no time. Sees Brown and goes to him 15 metres out. So Lee Brown has got a couple already. And this is a good night for him. Last year did some ruck work. Well, with the arrival of Jolly, it's hard to imagine he fits into that situation for this coming season. So he's got to make a stand as perhaps a key position player, and why not full forward? John Anthony, just ignore that. In it goes, it's a goal. Brown gets his third.
So Brown with a couple in this term and 3. Down to you, Richo.
two distinct styles of play here at the moment. It worked for Collingwood that way. They're happy to chip it around the boundary line. It resulted in the goal for Lee Brown, whereas the Saints have been more than willing to bring it through the centre. If I was a forward, I'd be happy with the latter option, I think.
And that's Luke Ball's great strength, that unconditional attack and courage and strength to get his head forward over the footy.
I think a lot of fans this week were wondering if we'd seen scenes like this. Goddard putting him in. It's the ultimate fighting this week, isn't it, in Australia?
I think it is.
Goddard putting him in almost a sleeper hole, but I think Luke won't mind all that. As we're going to be pretty happy to get this one out of the way too against the Saints. Get it done in February.
It's interesting you would fight or push and shove with a bloke that you did play with. Normally it's a guy you haven't played with that comes at you or you go at him.
He just shaped up to St. Nicholas a moment ago. Here's Cloak in and Lockyer. So good couple of minutes here for Collingwood. Goal here would give them some momentum before half-time.
They just need to get the scoreboard pressure by scoring. They've actually gone in there 24 times, which is a pretty good effort. Remember, last per quarter was about 10 last year. Do
you think they discussed
a bit of tension there?
Do you think any contract was discussed there?
I don't reckon he had enough time, but I'm sure if he did, he would have asked him whether he'd signed or not.
It was interesting actually when Ben Cousins went back to Perth. Remember, he had to go through the record to find Scott Selwood and had a crack at him.
Well, let's see if Lockyer can kick the goal and bring Collingwood that much closer before half-time. He's a neat player, isn't he, Lockyer? You back him from there, he's got it.
Just on the Rewald ball Fracco, I think it's really important. Nick has to show the fight to his players. He's the leader of the team. We see here hard attack on Luke Ball. As a captain, I think his players would really enjoy seeing him roughing Luke Ball up like that, just saying, look, mate, you're not with us anymore, you're playing for the opposition.
It's all about the colour of the jumper you're wearing, isn't it? Not whether you're mates or not mates. They're in opposition jumpers.
Tom, I bet you were pleased that Mooney or Rook didn't leave your team.
You're probably right, Bruce.
Could have been a mass exodus. The package deal. Dying seconds then of this first half at Etihad Stadium. Certainly he's been one of the stars, Nick Riewoldt, with 3 goals. Generally that way. Ball for Collingwood has been terrific. Schneider in trouble, only as far as Tuvey. The hurried kick down towards half forward. Well done by Miles over the top, knocked it down. Gilbert, Miles again, kept his head. Ray gives it across to Fisher. The final act of the opening half here at Etihad Stadium, and just like you draw it up, Collingwood with the experience and the exuberance coming from the Saints. The Saints at half-time leading by 18 points, 107-152 to 5-4-34. This is Friday Night Football.
Yep, and is 10, and I think a good effort by Collingwood late there. We're going to go down to Tim Watson with Lee Montagna.
Well, Joe, it's only in the middle of February, but the Saints look pretty sharp.
Yeah, look, we're going okay so far. The boys have come out and, we've tried to kick on where we left off last year, and that's just with our effort and our contested footy, and I think for most of that half we've been doing that.
They're a high possession side. They run hard too, but you've controlled them for most of that first half.
Yeah, we know they've got a lot of players that can be really damaging with the footy, so we're just trying to keep them under control and make sure they don't get too much of the footy.
And how's Luke look in a Collingwood jumper?
Different.
What a good answer. As Dennis said a moment ago, this is Friday Night Footy as Luke Ball leaves the arena. So the Saints back out there, and that's the score at half-time, 18 points. But Collingwood got a couple of late goals. Lockyer in the last minute. Brown kicked 2 of his 3 goals in that second term.
Yeah, I think their game's very much alive, no doubt about that. I think Collingwood have been in the game. St. Kilda got a few of those long goals. They've kicked those 4 or 5 goals from around the 50-metre mark, 1 9-pointer, and that's really the reason they're in front. And we know the scoreboard decides the result of the game, but I think Collingwood are right in it in terms of the way the game is being played.
I think St Kilda have come out playing the sort of football that they played last year. It's an interesting statistic at the moment. Collingwood have actually laid more tackles than St Kilda, but St Kilda are just so adept at that perceived pressure. A few of the Collingwood players look like they're fumbling under that sort of pressure, so it's just an amazing thing to see a side under siege like Collingwood have been a couple of times tonight.
So a very interesting second half awaits us. We're going down to the boundary line. down to Richo. Now, Richo, noticed at half-time that the Collingwood fans on the boundary line have embraced you already, mate.
Yeah, there's a lot of love down here with the Collingwood supporters. A fantastic crowd tonight, over 30,000 in a nice balmy evening. But I thought they were meant to hate me. I'm not sure what's going on, Bruce.
You've been signing a lot of autographs, Richard. Hey, Matty, on a slightly more serious note, lots of rotations you talked about in the first half. We'll probably see just as many, if not more, in the second half. Hot night. How do the top players feel about being rested in these matches?
Well, look, players never want to come off at the best of times, and no doubt most guys would want to get a full game under their belt tonight. A lot of players would see it as an opportunity to run their opponents into the ground in the second half. But as footy's become more scientific, the fitness and staff become more involved, players now realise that they do have to come off for breaks so they can maintain that intensity when they are on the ground.
And just one last one, the big talking point was the ground before the match. There was even a bit of a rumour going around that a couple of players wouldn't play and they'll be pulled out before the game. That didn't happen. How have you seen it so far?
I don't think it's really been an issue. I mean, we do get precious about the grounds these days. We play on super surfaces all the time. So when we see a surface like this tonight, you know, the alarm bells go off, but I don't think it's been an issue.
Thanks, Matty.
Thank you.
140 interchanges in the first half, guys. Wow.
It's certainly a lot. I think, you know, in these given conditions that those stats are probably a little bit heightened, but, you know, the coaches are earning their dollars at the moment. Your mate Bucks would be working overtime, Dennis.
Luke Ball, 12 possessions, only 3 guys on the ground have had more. 5 kicks, 7 hand passes, but the biggest influence has come from that man. 3 goals, although at the other end, Lee Brown has booted 3 for the Magpies. Handy signing last season, Brown, in as much as he does so much. He's like a Swiss Army knife. He just gets around the ground and does bits and pieces. And we've made the point during the commentary that had he kicked straight last year, he would have had a very good season. As it was, he missed a few. There's Ball starting on the bench, or particularly on the grass. Malthouse not in charge tonight, although you wouldn't want to push that too far. Knocked down by Jolly decisively. Beams gave the hand pass away. Shaw has been very good. That was his 19th possession. Down towards half forward. Miles again. It's going to be a high tackle. He was a bit lucky there. It was Jones. I'll run it out. Goddard. Ray goes wider. Montagna drives it down towards half forward. Big leap down there. Revolt.
Terrific mark from Nick Riewoldt. They set up the forward structure and overloaded the far side of the ground. As we see Jones always in and under it. Overloaded the far side of the ground and left a space open on the near side for Nick to run into. He's going to mark that to 9 out of 10 times.
Let's be highly critical. I don't think Dean Swan thought it was an April attack on the footy.
This time he's off target and kicks it behind.
I think as the season goes on, he might decide to stand his ground, but I think maybe just then he maybe thought not this early.
He had a peek, but it was in the calendar.
I like that. Tuvey to Breed, back to Tuvey. McWalter's tackle was important, and then Armitage gets hold of it. Uncertain, but he had the confidence to hold up in the tackle, but not a good kick, and that might be out on the fall.
Again, we saw the perceived pressure from St Kilda. Got the turnover, obviously not the end result. They're after getting the ball out of the fall, but they've started off in similar fashion to the way they finished the first half.
I think the first goal here would be pretty important. If Collingwood get it, then it's going to really tighten this up. Saints could stretch it out to about 4 goals. Here's Shaw running hard. Lots of the ball in the first half. She probably ran too far in the end, but he got it back inside. Beams, who was a substitute, has come onto the ground. Johnson worked it well. Thomas goes short. Good kick. Davis, does he go on? He does. And misses. Well, they've had some chances, and that was one of the best ones. He knows.
Just cursing AC/DC.
I think he could have made a certainty of it either way by just trying to carry the footy a bit further, and Cameron Wood was standing on his own in the goal square, so it was either going to be hand pass over the top or more point blank.
Again, man on man here by Collingwood in the zone.
Schneider doing everything correctly. Ticked all the boxes, goes in short to the pocket, and the mark is taken by Gilbert. 53 plays 35. You would anticipate the hard bodies, the more experienced players of Collingwood could have an influence in this second half. The game certainly not over yet. Heath Shaw turns around immediately, tackled by Ray, and pushed across the line.
Down and bounce, down around fire. Come through.
So throw in about 60 metres out from goal. Collingwood's attacking end. They're going to the Coventry end. One down by Jolly into the path of Beams. Pushed as he kicked. It runs out of bounds.
Jones is a terrific tagger, isn't he? Even as the ball trickles across the line, he's riding Alan Didak like a backpack already. I'm sure Ditz wouldn't be too wrapped about that so early on in the pre-season.
So Jolly front spot. Armiger's hands were good. And then Geary gets it out of the back half. Maxwell. Had O'Brien in the centre. He's a good general, isn't he, Maxwell? Takes on Kosicki. He's had a quiet one, and that's a poor kick. And Miles had to search, so it's probably just as tough for the defenders. Wood, well done. Swan, brilliant. Yeah or no? Gee, Wood's handball then to release Swan, and Swan's check side. And St.Kilda quickly away. Down the side. Milne underneath. I think he'll get there. He does.
He's got it just inside the line at the second grasp. Just pops it over the top, and the mark is taken by Hine. Back to Montagna. Montagna from about 55. Kosicki in the square. Picked up by Schneider. Now, the advantage is not going to be paid.
Just go back.
It's a mark. No advantage after the
That's
mark.
correct. First tested.
Guys out, 5 metres. Nick.
Paid the mark. Kosicki puts it through.
Didak, we were just talking a moment ago about Didak and the tag that's being applied by Clinton Jones. Now, he's really having trouble with Jones. Jones is a really tight tagging type player, but we did see something a moment ago at the boundary line throw in there where Swan tried to intercept.
Yeah, Dane Swan tried to cut off Clinton Jones, and that's exactly what his teammates need to do. They need to give him a chop out, try and release Jones off him and give Didak a little bit of space. The other option is put Didak deep in the goal square, kick a couple of goals, put the pressure back on St Kilda and Jones.
It's a good number 4 for the Saints, isn't it? Baldock and Lockett. Jones, who had such an impact last year as a run-with player. So Beams, another possession out of the centre to Shaw. Now Jolly to Johnson down low.
Okay, back 2 metres. Play on.
So Lockyer off. Now he had Jolly wide, and he's gone wider still. Cloak with those safe hands. He's a long way out, but he can kick a long bomb, and that's a good-looking kick. Just didn't looked half a chance to bend back when he first kicked it, but didn't.
Again, it looked like Collingwood were just about to bring the ball through the middle of the ground, but then came back out wide again. Travis Cloak ends up marking the ball in a really difficult angle, and it makes your forward foray probably too tough to score from.
So 0-3 for the big 32 tonight.
Milne to revolt. Big 12. Goddard is on the wing, feeds it back. Milne again. Looks towards the middle. Armitage. On the line of the square out towards right centre wing. A little chip pass. Took something off the kick. It got there slowly as a result. Gilbert couldn't mark it. Tuvey knocked it away. Well done, McWalter. Gave it across to Blake, who's run from defence. Gets the bounce. I think he was just inside the 50. No, he was just outside the 50. 9-pointer.
Well, they've been centimetre perfect, haven't they? Schneider and Blake tonight. This is his 18th NAB Cup match. He's never kicked a goal. And now he's got a 9-pointer, Blake. And it just bursts the game open on the scoreboard, doesn't it? So those 2 9-pointers, adding an extra goal in total. Buckley couldn't get clear. And then Goddard to Ray. Revolt.
50 metres.
About that one.
Land straight his back. Land straight his back.
They did say this was going to be an area of focus, didn't they?
Yep, and,
Got him front. It's only 6 points, Nick. 6 points. It's inside.
so ridden into the ground, the umpy says, and Revolt gets a 4th, and the Saints, well, they're not going to Alice Springs by the look of it.
True. been quite outstanding so far. It's just the way he keeps leading, presenting. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I guess happy with the result that Nick made the play and probably deserved the free kick.
Jolly knocked it down. Armitage lurking at his feet, and they tie it up. So with the prospect of Alice Springs next week for the loser, I would imagine we can, as Revolt sprints off, we can expect an impassioned speech from Gavin Brown at three-quarter time. Maybe Bucks will interject. I know he's an old Territorian, but even so, he mightn't have that in his plans. I'll take over, Gav. On the outer side, forcing his way through. Ball did well. Pendlebury just flicked it forward. Fisher in the opposite direction ran into a roadblock.
Collingwood would be disappointed with their back third tonight. They've only got in there 24 times, St Kilda, for 11 goals. That's an incredible scoring percentage goals-wise.
Armitage falling to the ground. Here's Jones. Brother Smith kicks inside the 50, and the mark is taken by the big fella, Stanley.
It's an impressive sign for Ross Lyon and the coaching staff. It almost looked like Nick Riewoldt there, the way he took that ball. I wonder whether perhaps they might be doing a little bit of training in there. A great effort from a young man. It's a bit of a nightmare at the moment for young Brown from Collingwood. Probably needs a bit of support. Maxwell not quite getting back in time.
So Stanley, Reece Stanley, 20 metres out. Nice drop. Nice kick. And the Saints continue to roll.
So out to 43 points. Down to you, Richo.
Yeah, very good time to bring Simon Prestigiacomo onto the ground. Probably the most underrated defender in the AFL over the last 10 years. St Kilda forwards getting on top. They bring on their most experienced defender.
So Presti, one of the substitutes.
Hi, Collingwood.
Along with Beams for Collingwood.
Free kick.
So it's his 15th season for Presti. Ball out of the centre. Goes long. Blake underneath. Gilbert read it so well to Fisher. To Peake. And then Peake out wide. Good kick. Just how he settles in will be a very important part, you think. Hine, lovely mark getting it from Smith. Not big numbers for Hine, but he looks likely. Kicks inside the 50. There is Presti. Got it, that long arm out. Did pretty well. Goes back to Smith on his wrong side, but well done. Stanley, Reid belted it away. Geary started in the back half. Goes back to Hine. And Hine has a bit of a shank. Stanley just overran it. Gets a second crack. And Johnson, well, he's quick, Stanley, but Ben Johnson, historically, has been a hard man to run down.
Good shepherd by Reid, assisted the man breaking away with the footy too. Well, they know they've got a good lead, so they'll give some cheek. Ball goes short to Maxwell. Now Pendlebury runs to half-back. Short one, McCaffer. O'Brien pushing up the ground. Will he use him? No, decides to play on. So O'Brien applies as shepherd. Down the line goes McCaffer. Tarkin with nowhere to go. So in the last 5 minutes, the Saints have really turned on the afterburners. They've kicked right away now and lead by 43. The margin was 18 at half-time. And you thought perhaps Collingwood could get back. It doesn't look likely at the present time.
It's interesting, the Didac-Jones matchup, both for tonight and for future games. I think he'd be trying to get Didac where he's got the most chance of taking on Jones, and floating around the middle, I'm not quite sure whether he's going to get into space. Maybe deep forward. Low possessions, but get a goal or two against him.
It's a lovely kick by Swan. Medhurst worked underneath. Now Fisher strolls away. Still no real pressure. Sort of a 50-50 ball to Armitage. Side bottom of the back, and then Cloak decided not to go for the 9-pointer to Johnson, to Swan. The advantage, and Swan's good at that. Loves to run them through just like that.
Eddie plays 43. Still plenty of time. Still plenty of enthusiasm following that last goal. As we said, a late arriving crowd on a very warm night in Melbourne. Wood doing the rucking this time, opposed to King, and we've got a centre square infringement.
We got a St Kilda free kick, paid by the boundary.
Oh, there was some holding and a bit of history. Paid by the boundary arm. Schneider kicks it down towards half forward. Chopped off in front, Prestigiacomo. Kicks it back towards half forward. Medhurst takes on King. beat him fair and square. Pendlebury, McCaffer goes towards the pocket, honouring the lead from Cloak, but he juggles the mark. Now Cloak, a natural left footer, needs to go back and see if the hook can help him here.
1 metre lead 1 metre.
Everything's been going right. Kicked 3 behind so far tonight. He's serious. The glove has come off. He's put himself about, but hasn't finished. Through the bunker, kick is on its way, and that hook in that situation isn't a bad thing.
So sitting on the bench for a moment. So 1-3 to Cloak, 7 marks. Certainly had a lot of the ball. Collingwood with a couple of goals, back in it a bit. The Saints still sitting on a handy lead, but particularly with 9 points available, things can happen very quickly. Beams, for the 3rd time in this quarter, wins the ball out of the centre. Well done by Geary. Schneider had it taken away. Brown, free kick.
St.Kilda.
Blake was courageous. And now Schneider had a terrific first half. Low kick. Milne and O'Brien back to Maxwell. Maxwell takes a couple on and then heaves it forward. Got a bit lucky there. Jolly, could he go for 9? Looking all right. Looking real good. Well, welcome to Collingwood, Jolly. You make them all smile.
Well, Richo's a genius. Alan Dido came off. He sat on the bench. He put the headset on. He was being reprogrammed. He's come back onto the ground. Jones has followed him, and now he's gone forward. So he's actually playing Jones as a fullback now. He's full forward for Collingwood. Jones is fullback. Whether or not Jones is going to be able to play as tightly on him there remains to be seen.
So Jolly's got a taste. Armitage is getting a free kick. Plays on immediately. No one really standing the mark. He kicks inside the forward 50. Maxwell goes up, claims the mark, plays on to Johnson. And suddenly Collingwood have come to life. Johnson out of defence, short. Pendlebury outside the defensive 50. Looks across the ground. Thomas is on. Haven't called his name very often. They've got him in a triangulation. They came from all directions. Thomas emerges with the football. Came out of the foxhole. Goes inside the forward 50. At the back side bottom almost. Side bottom didn't have the ball. Didn't stop Blake picking him up. Going in there is Didak. Richo's man in the road though is Blake. Hand passes out towards the defensive 50 line. Taken by Montagna. Side bottom a bit stiff there. Shaw. O'Brien, short one is on, lunging at the football. McCaffer, courage to go back. Brown slams it to Tuvey, side bottom, tired kick down towards full forward. Redbest off the boot by Dawson.
He just didn't get enough on it, did he, side bottom? But Collingwood surging here. St Kilda are pretty good at absorbing this. Lee Fisher was a substitute. He's on the rookie list now, 27 years of age. Didn't play a senior game last year.
What they tend to do really well, St Kilda, in this situation, they can sense a run-on from Collingwood. Very adept at slowing the game. They're going to play the game on their terms, probably for the next couple of minutes, take the sting out of the game.
Again, next goal, so important. I mean, Collingwood can get it before three-quarter time. Got heaps of time, obviously, but they can just close this to 2.5 goals. And as Tom said, the Saints now just getting some composure, buying a bit of time.
Really important for the Collingwood players to force a turnover here. I think they've got the opportunity to squeeze up hard on the St Kilda players, get the turnover, go quickly into offensive transition.
So Ray had a couple of options. Gilbert, and he'll probably use Smith as a good use too, because he, like Gilbert's a lefty, goes to half forward. Wellingham did well. They just cut across in front. He was never really going for the mark, but he stopped the run.
High ball. They've got it. Thanks, Nick.
So here's the triangulation Dennis was talking about, with Thomas having to hold his ground there.
The old pincer movement, but he wasn't pinced. He got up and got the footy. Close to the boundary line, Geary. And ball's old number, it's out of bounds. Ball now shapes up, there you go. A youngster, doesn't know him very well, doesn't want to. Hine, boundary throw in then, about 35 metres out from goal. Spills off hands, Jolly. Advantage is paid. Player took it. Umpire waves him on. Wellingham towards half forward. Little nudge. Cloak leads back in the race. Brown is on. If he can get it to Brown. Hangs in the air a long time. Gilbert closing. Won't get there. Brown's got it. Needs to go back and kick his fourth. Well, decides to go in short. But he's kicked it to Cloak. Well, he did kick his last one.
This is a nervous one I think Lee was talking about for Cloak though.
Well, it is. This is the one he should kick. He's 30 metres out, straight in front. Got the last one, so that should have settled his tension.
You can see in the background where Medhurst is. He was alone in the goal square moments before that kick came in. Saints scrambling back. Cloak comes in, buoyed by his last goal, and he slams it through.
So he's kicked a couple now in this quarter. 10 minutes ago, the Saints, Rossi Lyons sitting at the back tonight, were 43 points in front. Now we're at 16 points. Collingwood coming hard. Tom had mentioned that even when they were a long way back, they'd actually had more inside 50s. I think at that point it was 30 to 26. And they've continued to press here. Buckley goes back to Tuvey. To Buckley, good tackle, but Buckley held up. Now Brown did very well actually to get it wide. That was terrific to Swan, to Lockyer, and then Lockyer a bit up and under. Blake in the box seat. Medhurst did well. Side bottom overran it, but it was a hard ball to win, and he gets in after it. Saints have got a few numbers. Ray waiting for it to come out. Didak went forward. Cloak with the check side. Oh, don't tell me. Well, that would have been something. But suddenly, Cloak is becoming a big factor in this match. Getting himself into some very interesting positions. And Collingwood, in fact, if you take the 2 and the 1 away of the 9-pointers, it's 11-2 to 8-8, I think.
I would have won a lot more games as a coach if you could do that takeaway stuff. There's Montagna. Little chip outside the defensive 50. Well, still inside. Peake takes the mark.
Again, we see St Kilda want to slow the game up here, and Peake's taking control of the ball.
Told to go, just a little chip across to Blake. Peake is running beyond the man he kicked it to, but he won't get it back, at least initially. This is Ray. Goes very wide towards the outer side. Montagna, been lively. What's new? Kicks down towards the 50. Over the top. Terrific by Stanley. Lays it off and it tries to Milne. Wonderful football.
Well, that's impressive from a player we haven't seen a whole lot standing, isn't it? I mean, he's taken 2 really strong overhead marks from the front position, and that's kind of just what you want from your young tools, just that they show that they've actually got the judgment and the strength to hold their arms at full height.
He's got some terrific mentors down at St Kilda in that forward 50 contested marker. You don't have to look too far further than Nick Riewoldt and Justin Kaczynski.
Another Nick this time. Nick Hine will kick from about 35 metres. And this will hurt Collingwood if in fact it's a goal, but he's hung it out to the left. Behind, a reprieve for the Magpies, 2.5 minutes out from three-quarter time.
Willingham. Gee, that's sloppy. Put Reid under the pump. To Tuvey. Well done, though. Reid didn't panic. Tuvey certainly didn't panic and found Lockyer. Lockyer normally uses the ball so well. Little hands in the back against Medhurst, but the mark paid anyway. Fisher. It was Blake who was in the front spot. So Fisher, well, too far for Geary in the end. Davis. Medhurst. Collingwood continuing to build. Jolly's in the box seat. Medhurst goes high and long, and he should mark it. He does. Well, he had a nervy first half, Jolly, but he kicked a 9-pointer in this half that really got him going. And this is what he did very well for Sydney. I think he kicked 16 goals last year, which is a pretty good return for a bloke that rucks for most of the day.
He's always made really, really smart offensive transition movements going forward. Some great work off the ball there by Travis Cloak. So his game in general has picked up, which is a credit to him.
Richo mentioned earlier that the ruckman were pushing forward for Collingwood. What a big kick this is for Jolly. Looking good. Well, I think the Pies have embraced Jolly. He's had a terrific 5 or 10 minutes, and Collingwood continue to close.
It's been a gigantic turnaround in the game from 43 points in front. Obviously, Collingwood are now only 10 points behind. Let's have a look at some of the numbers that have contributed to that happening in this last few minutes of play. Inside 50s, there's amazing dominance for Collingwood, 36 to 29. We know St Kilda's scoring efficiency has been fantastic, but Collingwood are starting to win the ball in the stoppages, around the clearances. Their tackling pressure has been really good. So it has been an amazing comeback in a short 10 minutes of play.
Premiership player with Sydney, played 48 games for Melbourne, Darren Jolly. Suddenly big hero with the Collingwood fans tonight. Just to add to Bruce's point, he's kicked 47 goals over the last 3 seasons for Sydney. At the same time, Josh Fraser had kicked 31.
Arms on the wick.
So Jolly, a player who can go forward. Collingwood had all the momentum. Suddenly it was stopped. Buckley lays it off. Heath Shaw goes inside the forward 50. Medhurst, as he pushed in the back, thought he might have been no free kick.
Seems to be a clear change in the trend of the game here in the first half. St Kilda dominated the centre clears 9 to 5. Collingwood now 6 to 3 in the second half.
Medhurst was in sparkling form last week in the intra-club game. Here's Buckley. Back to Didak. Didak over the top. Shaw has to wait. Lays it off. Quick hands by Beams. Medhurst couldn't get through. Lockyer should have given one more. And the ball's out of bounds on the full. It was Wood, and Wood had his back to goal, but even so.
Don't go forward, Dale.
Looked on though, didn't it?
Yep.
Well, I said 20 minutes ago that St Kilda weren't going to Alice Springs. Revolt front spot. Presti. Tell you what, since Presti's come on...
Stabilised it back there, hasn't he?
Absolutely. McWalter, well done. Smith through the centre, running hard, confidently. McAvoy to Jones. Neil fancy this, Stevie. Can't quite wind up, and then overcooks the kick. Swan did well. Beams has been important. To Shaw. To Cloak. Have they got time? They need a mark. He's got to go quickly now. Ball. Little left footer. Siren about to go. Blake's got it. But all is set up for what should be a terrific last quarter.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, the Mick Malthouse and the Collingwood coaching staff would be really impressed with the way they fought their way back in the game. I thought perhaps in the last 5 or so minutes, a few of the St Kilda players looked like they were running on the spot a little bit. The Collingwood boys came in with the more mature team, and perhaps that might be a telling story going forward.
So just 10 points in it. Collingwood closing, and it's 81 to 71 the Saints on Friday night footy. So the margin 10 points. It was 26 at quarter time and 18 at half time. So in taking 8 points off them in each of the quarters, Collingwood, so very much in this match. The jolly 9-pointer really got them rolling in that term.
Interesting part of the game, one of the young St Kilda players that they would like to elevate into that midfield rotation is David Armitage. He's had a really good, when Luke Bell's gone, really good night. 6 clearances, 6 tackles, he's done well.
So we'll leave Lee for a moment, go down to Tim Watson with Gavin Brown.
Well, Gavin, real momentum swing in that third quarter. What brought that about?
Oh, look, I think we probably got a few things right in the end. I think we put a little bit more pressure on them. I think we switched, we turned and played on a little bit quicker and put them under a little bit more pressure. And I think that, Jolly got on down from the ruck, taking a couple of marks, and Brownie and Trav put a little bit more pressure on them.
Didak took Jones into the forward area of the ground. What's behind that?
Oh, just to try and make him a little bit more accountable, try and get Dix to kick a couple of goals for us.
And I saw Mick hovering at three-quarter time. You're the coach tonight. Who got whose way?
No, I certainly didn't get in his way.
Thanks, mate.
Good on you, Tim, as we go down to Richo. Who do you reckon's got the fresher legs, Matthew?
Well, the Pies are going to need them. They need to overrun the Saints. They have interchanged their bench a lot more than St Kilda, so that might come into the equation. I've been really impressed with young Reece Stanley from the Saints tonight. He's taken a couple of great contested marks. It's been dying out of the game in the last few years, but it's good to see a young player come in and hold a couple tonight.
Like your haircut tonight too, Richard. What do you think, Dennis?
It's doing a bit, Bruce.
I like it.
It's doing a bit.
That's good. Sitting in front of one of those tunnels.
I think that's all the Collingwood supporters rubbing him on the head and saying, good on you, Richard.
Is that right? Well, Richard...
We spoke, sorry to interrupt, we spoke before the game about the strength in Collingwood's 26. They're all fairly experienced. They've all played a bit of senior footy. That depth into the 26 might be critical. St Kilda haven't got that same half a dozen players who haven't played a whole lot.
So the margin just 10 points as we start this final term. Kazitsky taking a turn on the ball, beaten by Jolly, slaps it out wide, down goes Didak, takes a divot, and that ball is wedged in there. So 81 plays 71 after it really blew out midway through that third term. Collingwood dug their heels in, full credit to them. And now with a winning chance.
St Kilda will be really keen to get back on top in the clearance areas, particularly around the centre of the ground.
Clean possession, Goddard got the hand pass away. Going nowhere there behind the pack was Hine. Nice work by Thomas, gave it across the ball. Short one is on to Lock, free kick, bit stiff. Ray, Montagna, well done Thomas, charging through, deflected the ball across to Lock. Your ball again with precision, almost the mark to Cloak. And now it's wrestled for right on the boundary. Stays in play. Jones with the outside of the boot. Montagna taken down immediately by Ball. It spills across to Ray. Look out. Hand pass just in the nick of time. Came across from Armitage. Gilbert goes to the outer side. Kazitsky and Jolly. Jolly works in front. And he was held by Kazitsky. He takes the advantage, hand passes to Shaw. It's 2-on-1 on the outer side. Brown's got it, uses the numerical advantage. Over to Johnson. Johnson kicks inside the forward 50. Davis checks off the football. Well done by Miles. Edged him underneath. And now the danger is past. The hand pass came from Goddard. And they work it around the boundary. Fisher has it.
Miles again getting involved, so did well there. So Fisher in the defensive 50, close to the line, Revolt worked underneath. And out on the fall, so...
Got to go around, Nick. Darren, over the boundary line. Thank you.
So Montagna and Ball.
Really has been in the thick of it, hasn't he, Luke Ball, tonight?
Yeah.
I'll be pleased with his contribution, and now Jolly's in the second half. Over the top. She well done again, Miles, and then Thomas building it forward. Lockyer, can he get the handball back? He hooks it back, clever kick, line up. Well, Ball's got a chance here to really put the heat on his old team. Now, talk about nerves. I reckon his adrenaline right now would be pumping.
If you're thinking about the end result, if he does kick the goal, I don't reckon he'll be one of those players who really salutes the crowd, but I reckon inside he'll be pretty chuffed if he can go back and slot this one through.
Watch the Collingwood players come from everywhere if he kicks it. Oh, coming back. He's got it. Here they come.
That roar from the Collingwood crowd when Luke Ball took that mark was deafening down here at ground level. They've sensed all night that the St Kilda fans have been giving Luke a pretty hard time, and I think they just wanted to balance that.
Well, Collingwood have got the last 6 goals in the game. Thomas and Lockyer setting it up with some hard work. Armitage out of the middle. Kicks inside the forward 50. And the Saints get their first goal in 7. Revolt was in there. Opportunity for Smith. Brilliantly done on the up. Milne, the quick reply. Can that deflate the balloon?
Really exactly what they're after, St Kilda. They needed to get the scoreboard pressure, obviously, to stem the flow from Collingwood. All starts with the centre clearance. I mean, it becomes crucially important. Collingwood were really starting to get on top in that particular area.
Actually, we often spoke, I know, to digress a little bit about Luke Ball. He's played 57 minutes tonight. One of the things that I think was a concern to him, and a lot of people who watch footy, he never seemed to play more than about 50 minutes in a total game with St Kilda. So, but they seem to have had the ability, haven't they, St Kilda, just to answer and be able to score just a bit too easily.
So Milne on the board. The Saints get it back to that three-quarter time lead. Do feel, though, we're in for a big finish, don't you? A night that's built and built and built. Goddard got it from Kazitsky. Just too tall there for Smith, but he comes back on Maxwell. Tuvi's hands. O'Brien, gee, held up well there. O'Brien in the tackle. Pendlebury to Ball. And then Ball up and under. Cloak, yes. Well, this is a big kick, and certainly within his capabilities. I mean, Revolt was certainly the most important big man on the ground for 2.5 quarters, but Cloak is now starting to become that, isn't he?
He's already had 6 shots at goal, 2 goals for, but he's kicked the last 2.
Zach Dawson just really found himself taking his eye off the ball, searched for the body contact, probably should have kept his eye on the ball and made the play himself.
So yet another big kick for Collingwood. Outside the 50, but it won't be a 9-pointer. As it coming back doesn't look like it. So 2 goals, 5 for Cloak. One of those was a postal, which would have been a miracle goal.
Just under 14 minutes in Collingwood. Look at them press up the ground.
Playing
really pushed up.
Playing a combination man-on-man and zone. I think you'll find inside the defensive 50 they're going man-on-man and squeezing up further up the ground.
Wilt drives it towards the outer side. If they get clean ball here, Revolt is by himself, but they won't. O'Brien takes the mark. Little short one is on. Pendlebury has it. He's about 55 metres out. Brown. Well, he didn't spot Brown. Brown is still going. The mark was taken by Wood. Brown was metres in the clear, right in front of goal. Breakdown by the Saints in defence, but not this time. Kazitsky uncontested. Sometimes when you get so many people back, defenders don't quite know whose responsibility a leading forward is. Kazitsky short to the pocket. Armitage goes across and takes the mark.
Lee talked about Armitage at 3/4 time. Lots of clearances. Had another one in this last quarter. O'Brien, a beauty!
Every pre-season you do it, Bruce.
So Harry now launches the ball after launching himself. Lee Brown to Davis. No, it's a mark. So it's got to come back.
No advantage from the mark. No advantage from the mark.
Bit of history. If they'd allowed that play, Peter Hudson would have kicked 151 goals in 1971. How's that for actually going a long time back?
And broken Bob Pratt's record, all on his own.
Well, he did. He ran into the goal square after a handball like that, but the umpire called that back also. So, yeah, he was over the mark. Had to go back.
Well, he's had a big match, hasn't he? I mean, Brown now lining up for his 4th goal tonight. And he's kicked well so far tonight. He missed a few last year. We've talked about that. And that's straight. And Collingwood keep coming. And Brown's got 4.
He got the goal. That's 4 to Lee Brown. And Harry O'Brien now is up to 20 possessions. A running half-back who can take a mark, and he's quick as a fox. Wood's up on his toes. That's got to be a good sign too. Wins it decisively down to Pendlebury. Picks it up, does Wood. Flicks it out to side bottom across to Tuvey. Another goal and they'll lead. Kick came off the outside of the boot though to Schneider, who started well. He's drifted out of the game. Well, Brown went so wide there that Schneider simply went in a straight line. Kicks it down towards the 50. And it's juggled by McAvoy just outside the 50. Looks towards the middle. Hangs a long time in the air. Side bottom knocked it down to his own advantage. Hand passes. Prestigiacomo. Left half back. Kicks beyond the wing. Showing wonderful courage going back there was Fisher. 2 Saints, but the ball was marked by Brown. Well done. Got it to Lockyer. Down towards Cloak, missed it. Swooping on the loose ball is Swan. Turns his men, peak inside out. Swan for the lead, and he's missed. He missed, Tom.
He certainly did. Again, Zach Dawson is gone. We see Dane Swan here again.
And I reckon Lee was about to say, gee, he's looking better than he did in the first half.
He could have gone another half a dozen steps and made a certainty of it.
He was mesmerised by the tat.
So Collingwood closing in. Peake's handball to Blake. To Gilbert. To Milne. To McWalter. So St Kilda trying to build here. Milne did pretty well to clean up the mess, but it's a poor kick, and Shaw can really attack, though he looked up and he saw a few Saints. Lockyer, normally a good distributor, finds Medhurst, also clever. It's okay. No, it just took too long, and cutting it off was Goddard. Good tackle coming in, though, by, I think it was Beams. Not sure.
It did probably, it was cut off, but I think the idea was right. One of the real great advantages of Medhurst is he does make things happen when he wills and goes like that. And although the end result probably wasn't there, I think Mick Malthouse would be encouraged by that forward play.
Beams was pushed in the back. He's going to get the free kick. He's 55 metres out. They trail by 2 points. Into the man on the mark. That could be a turning point. Blake did well. Shoveled out nicely. They've got the numbers. Armitage gave it to Schneider. Goddard back to Schneider. Schneider feeds it to Miles. Miles thought about a hand pass. Goes with the kick. Lee Fisher takes the mark. The senior statesman on that rookie list says something about how he's valued at St Kilda. Nice kick from Schneider back into the corridor. Sam Fisher's away through midfield. Testing kick inside the forward 50. Tracking at his peak. Tracking him is Maxwell. Hard to get some footing there. Maxwell ran on. Peak. Pops it back. And this guy who had it moments ago through midfield has pushed up the ground. And Sam Fisher is marked within scoring range well and truly. Peak's an interesting player. I was just looking at some stats on him during the week. He polled 10 Brownlow votes in his first 26 games, including 3 threes. Not many guys do that. Now it's with Fisher, thanks to Peak. Kick is on the way, and it's good. Oh, big finish coming up.
So Gavin Brown at the back, in front of him Nathan Buckley. So
Scotty Waters there too.
Yep, who Mick talked about before the game. So Collingwood back to 8, or rather St Kilda back to 8 points. Sam Fisher's goal after Peak got it back to. The other thing with Peak, Dennis, he hasn't played in many winning teams over the last couple of years. I think his last 36 games at Freo, they won 10, which is not the percentage that the Saints have had in the last year or two. So a win would be beautiful.
You'll have to get acclimatised, Bruce.
Yep. Few and far between. Schneider, Smith, been good Smith. Inside, here he is. Speaking of the Peak, with a little left footer, could he find another forward target? Not this time. And that's Gertner, I think we just. Is it Gertner or Gartner?
Gertner, we went.
Gertner, we're going with Gertner.
Went with Gertner.
Stephen Gertner having his first run. There's Michael Malthouse. Not the official senior coach for just for tonight, but living every kick. Clever ball to Thomas, and then Thomas goes with a long one down the line.
Working in front, Miles, edging him under the football, Medhurst. Medhurst breaks away, pulls it back towards centre half forward. Well done down there by Dawson. Got a fist on it. Great run by Dawson too. Track cloak, got him to the ground. Spills across to Davis. Davis snaps and misses. Interesting. Zach Dawson wearing number 6 tonight. He was 43 last season. When you think of defenders at St Kilda wearing number 6, your mind hurries back, at least mine does. Bob Murray, the Tasmanian, in their team of the century, premiership player, great player at fullback. Here's Fisher. Out of defence then, high ball towards the wing. I'd like revolt. Whoops, still, oh, well, he could have got a free kick. It's out of bounds.
The players are starting to look a little bit flat-footed, but we've noticed that Collingwood have had now in excess of 130 interchanges, and I wonder whether that will actually work in their favour going forward on a hot and steamy night like it is tonight.
So King back to Pendlebury. Heard the umpy. Now Schneider, look away handball to Blake, to King. Back to Fisher. Blake held up in the tackle. Walter.
Hang on.
Oh, we haven't seen this before.
Collingwood free kick. Yeah, your free kick.
I think that was a bit of the Keanu Reeves.
Runner in the way.
There's certainly more in the way than the other runner was last time earlier in the game.
I think so.
Ben Johnson cleaning him up.
With relish.
So
is that automatic? I mean, if the runner gets in the way, it's an automatic free kick, or does the umpire have to judge it was something he could have done about it?
Well, that was in the way, wasn't it? So Shaw's little one. Ball. Kicks to the goal square. Brown nearly. Might get a second crack. Will. Goddard. Fisher. They can't well, they can, but they're going to give away plenty if they concede, and then Goddard off the side. Johnson to Ball. Has he got the carry? Not quite. Brown at the back, and the Saints force it over. And Collingwood one super goal away from hitting the front here. Bang, crash.
Does that count on the stat sheet?
He should have got a free kick for in the back.
Gave him a clip over the ear as he went past too. Oh well.
And straight on the phone too.
Here's Gertner. Right on the defensive 50. Nice build when he fills out, but not a nice kick. Swan, he's run hard. He's up to 28 possessions. So what's new? Looks towards the middle. Short one. Well done there by Beams to knock it forward. Then follows up his earlier good work and is going to get a free kick. So this to tie the score. Collingwood having their chances. I know it's early in the season, but watching Luke Ball, you just get the feeling he is going to be a fine acquisition for the Magpies. Sometimes it's just to do with styles.
He's got similarities to Scott Burns, hasn't he? Who actually retired, of course, at the end of 2008. That really strong bloke inside that can really complement a lot of that midfield runners that Collingwood have got.
Beams, that is a beautiful kick. Beams puts it through. We're locked at 93 apiece.
I reckon he's been terrific, Beams, since he come on at half-time.
No doubt. He's obviously a player for the future, and the Collingwood faithful will be rapt that he has probably knocked back the Gold Coast overtures and staying with the Pies for another couple of years.
Well, they're finishing strongly. Right now, you think they're in the box seat, Collingwood. It's all squared up, but they're doing most of the scoring. But whilst Revolt's lurking a centre forward, there's always a chance, isn't there? So Swan sucking it in, Davis to the left, Buckley in the centre there, and Beams. Have a look at that, 12-12, 12-3, and then you add the super goals on. So Collingwood with a lot more of the footy, more inside 50s, more clearances, and scores a level here. It's been a big revival. They trailed by 43 points, Collingwood, in the third quarter, and all seemed lost.
My ball locked in, thank you.
Isn't this where the real competitive urges really lock in? You know, you got 5 minutes, 6 minutes to go. NAB Cup, but it doesn't matter if it's a practice game. This is when the competitive urges make teams just desperate to win.
Saints have led since the 13-minute mark of the first quarter.
Oh,
gee.
Yeah, no, threw down after the tackle. Clear out!
So thrown down after the tackle. You heard the umpire. So Smith out wide. Fisher's already kicked one goal in this quarter. Could he do a 9-pointer? He won't with that. Mark coming up. Because he's got it. With Stanley and Kaczynski. I've got to say, Stanley does look a bit like Revolt when they're standing at full forward like that.
He does. I think Mick will make the point, though. Wellingham, sometimes you've got to let them mark the footy.
Just make sure he can't get around you.
That's right.
So Kaczynski has kicked one from point-blank range. This one, a little bit of an angle. He's got it, though. And the Saints are back in front.
I don't think he has.
He missed it. Gee, was okay.
There was too much joy in those Collingwood jumpers behind the goals. I think he must have missed.
I got it almost completely wrong. They're back in front, but he missed the goal.
Thomas over the top to Maxwell. Runs the boundary. Feeds it forward. Dancing around out there, side bottom, goes to Brown. Pendlebury, back to Maxwell. Maxwell had the carry on the kick. Well done by Blake. Sensed the danger, came to meet it. Now they've got the extra man. Little 1-2 worked out there between Fisher and Goddard. Now Montagna. Running back towards the defensive 50. He's gone. Meadows got him. 2-on-1 down deep. Goes long. Wood needs to take a mark. Carver reputation. Oh, weak hands. He didn't hang on. Now he's in trouble. He's outnumbered. Miles comes away. Drives it long towards the wing. Rebound opportunity for the Saints. Milne has to hold. Tell you what, young Smith's got plenty of self-belief. He was calling for the footy. Surrounded by about 3 back in the middle. Short one from Stanley. One thing you can do, Smith, is run.
Looks like Collingwood set to fire up with a few quick interchanges here to get the fresh legs in on the ground and run the game out.
So O'Brien and Maxwell, back to Maxwell. Buckley needs quick hands, just dropped it away. Good tackle by Milne.
Ball off.
Are we thinking extra time? Are we thinking... You think, Bruce?
Well, big chance, obviously. I mean, Saints with their nose in front still feel like Collingwood have got the run here. Now, does Johnson go to Beams? No, he decides to go long inside the 50. Important ball here. Didak, Medhurst. Now, Medhurst is good enough from here. Leans back, goes, and drills it home. And they're in front.
Well, the Magpies have led this game for just 7 minutes. Paul Medhurst, an All-Australian the season before last, let go by Fremantle. Well, when you think about it, Fremantle are a bit of an ATM as far as All-Australians go for the rest of the league. Back in the middle, 5 points the difference. Wood favoured by the bounce decisively down to Pendlebury. High ball down towards half forward. Howell at bounce. Fisher comes tentatively, nudged underneath it. Well done, McCaffer. Spots a man in Brown. Seeing the danger, Goddard got across in the nick of time, bounced off his chest. Fisher the hand pass to Schneider. Schneider to the wing. This boy's been impressive. 200 centimetres, and he just bounces around. He is terrific. Stanley told to play on. Sorry, Tom.
I think you said he won the grand final sprint, Dennis, and he's shown a bit of that form tonight.
Harry. Hasn't he been wonderful across half back? And this man too. They've been the best two along with Ball. For the Collingwood side at least. Up very high, Goddard got a hand to it, and the ball deflects out of bounds from the short kick.
He's played his part too, Lee Brown. He's going well when things weren't going so well for Collingwood tonight.
One of those players, I guess, you know, the young players get focused on a lot in the NAB Cup, but a really important game for Lee Brown tonight.
Well, with that extra big man coming into the team in Jolly, Armitage belting forward. Gertner. So the Saints still with plenty of time, a couple of minutes remaining. Short kick, but need enough to Milne. And then Milne goes down the line. Revolt. Just 4 or 5 metres too far out. Stabs the kick inside. Cut off by Pendlebury. Could be telling that.
Might be the stage of the game now for Collingwood to slow it up. They've got themselves a handy break here. And we'll use this as an experiment to work on keeping the ball off the opposition.
So Brian goes back to Thomas. To Reid. How well do players know how long there is to go, Tom? Do they know exactly? Gertner cut it off, and then Gwilt doesn't quite. Still about a minute and a half remaining.
They're saying a push in the back. Armitage is going to get the free.
The inexperienced player wasn't Ben Reid. He just wasn't quite sure how to play the percentages.
It's funny, Lee, some guys get self-conscious in that situation, almost as though they don't want to be with the football, so he just played on virtually, and then it was a risky kick. Armitage. Oh, dear, oh dear. Schneider.
Terrific awareness by young Armitage. I mean, he even feigned the long kick and pulled it in short. That's a class act, but a bit of a cardinal sin from the Collingwood defence there.
They were zoning, but as Dennis often points out, there's no one actually playing man-on-man in space.
So Schneider to put his side in front. 30 seconds to go, and he has.
It's a great scoreboard and 199 here.
It's been a pretty famous St Kilda victory before by a point over Collingwood.
So I think there was just the expectation that Armitage was going to have the shot, and that's a bad expectation. Never assume.
I guess that's one of the great things about the NAB Cup. There's plenty of opportunities, examples to work on it. And from the Collingwood defenders' point of view, I'm sure they'll go through that with the coaches.
Well, the last time they played in the NAB Cup, Collingwood won by a point, and I think St Kilda beat Collingwood in a very famous grand final by a point a long time ago in '66. They won premiership. Stakes aren't quite so high tonight, but it's a close match. That's what we're getting at. And it's been a good one too. A very good NAB Cup match before a very good crowd. Collingwood, one roll of the dice, you'd reckon. King wins the tap. Armitage has been very, very good. Swan toe pokes it forward. Getting back. Gilbert. Jones against the tide, dropped it down. Fisher, quick kick by Milne, taken by Shaw, still time for a mark. Couldn't quite. Miles did so well there. Might have saved the day. He has. The Saints are going to win. What a terrific game of footy. I think the scoreboard says it all. Footy in February. Luke Ball, what a night for him. A losing side, but I reckon he should be chuffed with the way he played tonight.
Yeah, I think he justified Collingwood's faith in taking him, and they'd be wrapped with his overall performance. I think Darren Jolly also, but the class and probably the hard edge of St Kilda prevailed in the end. And you're right, Bruce, a fantastic game of footy for February.
They kick straight. Simple as that. Yeah. That's what it is. 15 goals for.
So let's go down to the ground and to Tim Watson.
Adam, you won it, you lost it, you won it back again. That was a fair hit out.
Yeah, it was definitely them. The first 2 games of the year are bloody tough, and that was definitely one of them.
Now, did you have a bowl of spaghetti marinara last night? I mean, how's a bloke like you find so much space in the forward line late in the game like that?
Oh, no idea, mate. To be honest, I don't really remember it. Still a bit buggered, so.
What was going through your mind when you lined up for that kick?
Not much, mate. Just to go back to your routine and just kick through it and just stick to what you do every shot. It doesn't matter what time of the game it is, and just lucky she went through. Didn't go very straight, but doesn't matter, went through, I suppose.
They're a worthy opponent though, aren't they, Collingwood?
Yeah, definitely, they're a great team, and I think they really come out well in the second quarter. They could have put us away, but we stuck to it and got off to a good start for the year.
You did, well done tonight.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, did a terrific job, and so did Nick Revolt, and he's with Richo.
NAB Cup games aren't meant to have that much passion, Rui.
It was a great game, I thought. Both sides had a real crack, which we knew they would. Collingwood are a very good side, top 4 from last year, and I'd expect they'd be up there again this year.
How were your emotions playing against Luke tonight?
Oh, they were all right. It's been a big media build-up, as you could expect. There hasn't been much to talk about football-wise, so any little thing they're always going to run with it. But Ballie's a mate of mine, and he's a Collingwood player now, and that's how it is.
Kicked a few goals on and off the ground a little bit. Good preparation for yourself?
Yeah, it was good. I wasn't playing at this stage last year, so to be out here at this time of year is really good, and to get a few miles into the legs. So I thought it was a really positive game by the boys, and showed a bit at the end there, which was nice.
You don't have to go to Alice Springs now, mate, either.
Yeah, that was a fair incentive. Mind you, the oval there might have been in better condition than the one here.
Well done, Rui.
No, thanks, mate.
Nice jibe right there at the end from the skipper, who was terrific again tonight with 4 goals, Nick Revolt. So the Saints led by 26 points at quarter time, 18 at the half. They kicked away to lead by 43 midway through that third term. Collingwood stormed back, the margin 10 at three-quarter time. And finally, St Kilda stumble home by a point after Collingwood grabbed the lead. So St Kilda advance in the NAB Cup. This is Friday Night Football.